Welcome back once again. The Robot Wars reviews have returned once more, and we're at Heat C of the first series. Let's not waste any time, and let's just jump right into this. Now, the robots this heat was Cruella, a basic wedge bot, fashioned with like Dalmatian style dots. At least I'm assuming that's the case, as I think it's just a nod to, the 101 Dalmatians villain Cruella de Vil. They weigh in at 81.2 kilograms, which again, I'm pretty sure the weight limit was about 80, so that's slightly overweight. But again, the weights are all over the place in this entire season, to be quite honest. After that, we get to see Plunderbird 1, which probably has the most in common with its original inspiration of the Thunderbirds in Puppet Show out of the entire Plunderbirds lineup. And it weighs in at 77.7 kilograms. And I gotta tell you right here, there was a huge missed opportunity. You'll find out more about that later in the video, though. Then comes out WYSIWYG, weighing in at, I'm not joking, 10.8 kilograms, which is that's barely a featherweight at that point. What is happening? Why are the weights so disparate? Why is this a... Oh my god, they really did struggle to make up the numbers in this first season. And then one of the more notable entries this heat, Robot the Bruce, which comes from the team that will go on to make the Chaos robots, which, if you don't know, stick around, subscribe, because by the time I get to season 3 of Robot Wars, then oh boy, you're about to find out why Chaos becomes a mighty force, specifically Chaos 2. Anyway, the robot weighs in at 84.6 kilograms and is shockingly not the heaviest robot of the heat. Then comes in Wedgehog, which is probably the most interesting and least competitive looking wedge of the night, especially at the light weight of 24 kilograms. That is a lightweight robot, not... I get it, again, they're trying to make up the numbers, but how in the world were they hoping these robots would compete against robots that are 3 to 4 times their size? It's crazy. It does get crazier, trust me. Wait till we get to the next heat in next week. And then finally, Dreadnought, the heaviest robot, comes in at a mammoth 92.6 kilograms, which is a lot, even for this season in general. Now, I gotta say, it's also probably one of the most colourful and fun-looking robots we get to see this season. Just a lot of fun decoration going on. Now, once again, the gauntlet is up first, where the robot that makes the least distance will be eliminated. Cruella was up first, and guns for Shunt, who immediately just pushes them back. Cruella turns around and tries to back into Shunt. I guess they saw how well Scrapper did running backwards. But this doesn't work, though they eventually do manage to get round Shunt and start driving around into the Skittles. Now, this isn't pinball, so that doesn't do them any favours, and they end up finishing there. Not an amazing run, but better than how Jeremy Clarkson reckons, who I feel was a little bit harsh, honestly. They finished with 10.15 metres, yet not a lot, but for this season, that's basically a marathon. Next up was Dreadnought, who raced right past Shunt. They end up crashing into Dead Metal, who for a moment looks like it has them, but then lets go and backs away, allowing Dreadnought to make a beeline for the finish and a guarantee into the next round. Dreadnought, however, catches on fire before they get backstage, and now we have the drama of if they can fix the robot in time before the next round, or they'll be eliminated early. I also have to say, the House Robots, there's going to be plenty of times throughout Robot Wars history where we're going to question the driving of the House Robots. Either they get really clumsy, or they're overly aggressive. We're going to get plenty of that, so this is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, after that excitement, we got Plunderbird 1, and again, they try to take on Shunt, who just shoves them into the ramp, where they try to push past between the ramp and the spiky block thing. They end up wedging themselves, however, and end up stuck, as Shunt starts hitting them with the axe to add injury to insult. At 4.81 meters, they are in really risky territory. Now, taking a moment outside of that though, Plunderbird 1 was really forward-thinking, being, I believe, the first robot in the show's history to have interchangeable weaponry. I don't mean just, here's an axe, here's a mace. I mean as in, here's they have a spike, or they can switch it out for a saw arm. Genuinely, I'm impressed between the theming and the planning that's gone into having them have multiple options for weapons. This is the kind of thing that we see nowadays, to be honest with you, which is really actually quite interesting to see it like this early on. Next up is WYSIWYG, who just goes and races right into a railing, then tries to go for the ramp, but being so low means they actually end up getting stuck. Shunt tries to get them free, but ends up wedging itself as well and ending up stuck, and this is just a calamity at this point. Dead Metal ends up being the final force to push WYSIWYG free, who tries to get to the maze and barely even starts and even ends up backing away, falling victim to the worst of all, being mocked by Jonathan Pierce. Now, somehow it's a score of 5.55 meters, which is better than Plunderboard's score. I don't know how that was further. That didn't... I'm just saying, like, I know perspective is a crazy thing, but it just didn't look further to me. But, whatever. Wedgehog ends up going next against the Gauntlet and decides to go for the maze. The first team to go straight forward instead of the ramp or the popular option of trying against the house robots. Dead Metal and Shunt try harassing them, even pushing those Killalot glory holes to try and get to them, which was a bit silly looking, to be honest with you. Wedgehog makes it 13.23 meters after getting stuck on the spikes. Robot the Bruce was next up, and they made it easily around Shunt, then after knocking one of the Skittles over, drives right into Dead Metal. However, their drive is so good that they not only made it to the finish line, they basically pushed Dead Metal there with them. Finishing the course, they are guaranteed to make it through. Now, with the robots all done, the question remained, was Plunderbird 1 going to go out, or was Dreadnought not going to be able to continue competing? This was then revealed to us when Dreadnought barely managed to make the robot work by replacing a drive motor, the one that had burnt out, with the weapon motor, meaning that Dreadnought has no weapon, but is able to continue, meaning, more importantly, Plunderbird is out, which, my god, that was a real shame. That could have actually been really interesting. The next game is a game of football or soccer, where the robots have to get the ball into the goal against Dead Metal. The ball isn't perfectly round either, with lots of these little metal studs, meaning it's difficult to roll it straight into the goal. You have to properly shove it in. Now we actually see that Wedgehog and Robot the Bruce actually have little bits attached to them to help corral the ball, and Robot the Bruce scores the first goal with that attachment, combined with its superior drive power. It gives me tornado vibes, honestly, looking at this thing. They then recenter the ball with all the robots kept in place as they then resume. WYSIWYG's front wedge is ripped off by Dead Metal just kind of swinging around, and Dreadnought is quite obviously just dead. Like, there's no movement at all from this thing, meaning the game is easily over, but they continue on anyway. Wedgehog hits the ball, but Dead Metal ends up getting it in, leading to a little bit of confusion. After a ruling from the announcer, it's ruled that Wedgehog, because they touched the ball last, it's decided that they get the goal and can move on. Once again, action resumes as Cruella and WYSIWYG come in, and Dead Metal decides to grab Dreadnought and just start bullying it. WYSIWYG is constantly slapped about by Dead Metal, and Cruella manages to score the goal thanks to avoiding Dead Metal's ire. Now before we can continue, it's ruled that WYSIWYG has also broken down, so it goes to the judges, who decide that as Dreadnought supposedly touched the balls more times, they get to go through, which I call bull because Dreadnought has just been dead the entire time. But given that WYSIWYG was a stock robot, or a robot that was kind of put in there to make up the numbers, I think that might be a more likely reason. It's the same thing with like Grunt when it drove off in Sumo. I think it's just a case of, well, we don't actually want this in the competition, it's not a genuine competitor. Ah, dear. Why didn't they do that in the first round? We could have gotten Plunderbird. That's really bothersome, because now it means that Dreadnought, which has broken down twice, has made it through, and Plunderbird, who actually had some really cool tech, they're out of the competition in favour of a stock bot. Oh, WYSIWYG, why? As they hype up for the next round, I get to hear backstage, Wedgehog just barely made it through, which, what are you on about? They scored the second goal? You can't say that and then go right to Dreadnought like nothing happened. Oh my god, this show is insane. Anyway, we get to go into the fights now, which is what we've all been waiting for. Robot the Bruce versus Cruella is up first, and right away, Robot the Bruce is having some trouble as Cruella easily wedges them. As good as Robot the Bruce's drive power is, you can't make good use of it if you're just a box that can easily ride up a wedge. There's a few more attempts to ram Cruella that ends up failing each time, and just when it looks hopeless, Cruella makes a major driving error, driving into the grill where they end up getting stuck. Robot the Bruce is through, but dang, for a robot with like a team that would go on to such huge things, that was looking pretty bad for them. Next up was Dreadnought versus Wedgehog. Now Dreadnought ran for Wedgehog and can easily push them around with the massive weight disparity. Again, this is like a near 4 times weight difference. They send it into Bash, who tries to cut them with the saw, but the saw pops right off. Matilda tries to attack Wedgehog, and it's looking bleak, but after they back away, Dreadnought begins smoking once again, breaking down for the 3rd time. Now, unluckily for Dreadnought, there's nothing that can save them this time, as this is strike 3. Wedgehog is moving on to the next round, and Dreadnought is out. Meaning the main event, the heat final for this one, is Wedgehog versus Robot the Bruce. While Robot the Bruce struggled with ground clearance, I knew immediately what was going to happen, as they spelled out, with a 4 times weight difference and Robot the Bruce's amazing drive power, this was going to be much easier for Robot the Bruce to shove them around. And as expected, the fight starts with Wedgehog ramming into Robot the Bruce, but it's just pointless. It's like a fly buzzing around, and Robot the Bruce just immediately shoves them onto the grill, where the house robots descend, all looking to attack. Shunt breaks away looking to attack Robot the Bruce, but after Matilda cuts into Wedgehog, the fight is over. And that means that Robot the Bruce will be moving on to the grand final. Now, I gotta say, this might be the most disappointing episode so far. Like, I genuinely think Plunderbird could have had a chance of making it to the grand final with the weapons and Wedge, but WYSIWYG and Dreadnought, who constantly burns out, just prevented that from happening, which is super frustrating. Don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming the Dreadnought team, you know, they were just doing what they could in the competition. But the whole thing with, like, the stock robots or whatever they're called, being a part of the competition and going through to the second round, like, I get that they're trying to make up the numbers, but why would you let them eliminate the real contenders? That is so frustrating. That might end up being a bigger what if for me than Barry, honestly. I really wish we could have seen Plunderbird 1 in action here. But with that all being said, that's another heat of Robot Wars Series 1 in the books. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified of future videos on the channel. So, you know, comment and let me know what you thought of this series. If you don't know already, you can watch this on Mech Plus for completely free. There's some ads if you do it for free, but at the end of the day, you're going to watch it in like the highest quality I think I've ever seen these shows be in. So I consider it fair enough personally, but I would recommend you watch some of the later seasons first. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye guys!